When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
This message is brought to you by Abercrombie Kids, where the activewear is made for every summer activity, so your mini-me can bring their personal best. Summer days are always an adventure, from day camp to rec leagues and pool days. Abercrombie Kids has the shorts, tees, and swim to keep them comfy and keep up with them. Get everything for the entire summer at Abercrombie Kids. Shop in-store, online, or in the app.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
I kept telling myself it was nothing, coincidence. But I couldn't ignore that gut feeling screaming that something was off.
He started showing up around the hotel, following me. I had a panic attack just thinking about being stuck in the same resort as him.
Everything outside seemed well maintained. Once we stepped inside, things got weird.
From killer podcasts, true tales of horror, bizarre happenings, unexplainable events, this is Disturbed True Horror. Hello, and welcome back to the show. This week, we're bringing you 5 stories of encroaching boundaries, of someone or something taking advantage of you. Are you scared to speak up? Are you telling yourself it's all in your head? If so, I invite you to sit back, listen closely, and dive into the horror. First, a story narrated by Terra Ashe from Reddit user www.exist. I was stalked by a Turkish trainer on vacation.
So I wanted to tell you a story that really scared me when I was a teenager. And honestly, even now, I'm not totally sure how I feel about it. At the time, I was a 16-year-old girl from Russia. Pretty petite, fair-skinned, the kind of appearance that seemed to catch people's attention sometimes, which unfortunately matters in this story. My family had taken a vacation to Turkey, and the first thing I did when we arrived at the hotel was head straight to the beach to play volleyball. I'm pretty into sports, so that just felt natural. That's where I met him, this 19-year-old volleyball trainer named Ibrahim. After the tournament wrapped up, he came over to me and surprisingly spoke Russian. He asked my name and how old I was, and I told him I was 16. He kind of smiled and said in Russian, "Wow, you're little." At that time, I didn't really think much of it. I figured he was just being polite or something. I mean, I didn't really have much experience with boys. The next day, I came back to play again, and after the game, he asked for my number. And me, being the naive person I was, I just assumed he wanted to chat or maybe practice his Russian or something. I wasn't interested in him like that anyway. I've always been more into European guys. But when he asked if I wanted to hang out after he finished work, I said yes. Mostly because I rarely got the chance to talk to people who weren't Russian, and I figured it'd be good English practice. We met around 10 p.m. on the beach, and at first, it was fine. We talked about simple stuff, and he seemed surprised that I was Russian and could speak English. But I started to get really uneasy when out of nowhere, he took my hand without asking and said, "You have such a warm and small hand. I like it." That was the moment I realized just how vulnerable I felt. This guy was big, athletic, clearly strong, and I suddenly felt very small and very alone. As we walked back, he asked how many boyfriends I'd had. I told him I'd never dated anyone, and he laughed a little and asked, "You've never kissed a boy." And when we said goodbye, he tried to hug me and kiss me on the cheek. I didn't know what to do, so I just kind of dodged it and left. After that night, I started avoiding him, but he kept messaging me. I didn't want to be rude, so I'd give short replies, but every time I went to play volleyball, he'd take off his t-shirt. At first, I didn't really think about it, but eventually it started to feel like it was on purpose. And once I stopped going, I noticed he started wearing his shirt again. Then things got worse. He kept asking to meet, sending me these messages about how sweet I was and how he wanted to kiss me. He started showing up around the hotel, following me, watching me, even pretending to be a waiter when I was eating with my family on the terrace. I had a panic attack just thinking about being stuck in the same resort as him. He'd come up to me when I was alone and ask, "Why are you so tense and sad?" And he'd say things like, "I don't know why, but you look so cute to me. I really want to kiss you." I was scared, but I did everything I could to hide it. And what made it worse was that at first, all my friends said stuff like, "It's just a vacation fling, let yourself have fun." I think they thought he was hot or something, but even they started to get worried. Eventually, I just blocked him and avoided him completely. Thankfully, I never saw him again. But even now, as a grown woman, that whole experience still sticks with me. I keep asking myself if I did something wrong, if I gave him some kind of signal, if I made him think I was just something to chase. But no matter what, let's never meet again, Ibrahim.
Our next story is told by Bodhi Crowe. Alone at night in the middle of the desert, when your car breaks down and your phone has no reception, probably best to walk into the dunes in hopes of finding a couple bars. Surely nothing bad will happen.
I was in my 20s at the time, young and full of ambition. I was also a raging alcoholic and drug addict. My memory's a bit hazy, so apologies if I leave out details or big chunks. I've been sober almost a year now. Anyway, I had moved from Arizona to Salt Lake City, Utah, and landed a job as a service tech. One assignment involved installing devices at gas stations, working my way north from St. George to Salt Lake City. I'd hit multiple towns along the way, doing store after store. I can't remember exactly where I was, somewhere between Richfield and another small town. I'd finished the store late, maybe 10 or 11 p.m., and decided to head toward the next stop so I could hit the ground running the next morning, instead of driving 2 hours at dawn. As I'm driving, Google Maps tells me to take this dirt road as a shortcut. I hesitated, but turned anyway. It was pitch black, nothing around me but desert. The road barely a trail, lined with brush like natural walls. Maybe 5 to 7 minutes in, the truck sputtered. This beat-up 2008 work truck. Total POS. I cursed, put it in park, and popped at the hood. Nothing obvious was wrong, though I've only got mild mechanic skills. Then I looked at my phone. No signal. Work phone? Same. No service, no help. My options? Wait till sunrise or try to find a signal. I chose the latter. Normally, I carry a firearm, but I'd forgotten it this trip. So, armed with a 10-inch pipe wrench and a Milwaukee flashlight, I walked into the cold desert. The trail was narrow and rough, more like a game trail than a road. I'm not easily spooked. I grew up in Arizona and spent plenty of time in the dark desert, but each step away from the truck felt wrong. About 10 minutes in, I heard something behind me. Laughter. Muffled, high-pitched, like from a kid's cartoon. I spun around. Nothing. Boots sinking in soft sand. I pushed forward, heart pounding. I heard it again. Closer now. Louder. Maybe 4 to 5 feet away. I broke into a full sprint, crashing through brush and sand, eyes scanning for cover. I don't believe in the paranormal, aliens, whatever. I'd figured it was some deranged desert hobo. Or a strung-out tweaker. Adrenaline kicked in. I spotted a big rock, maybe 3 feet tall, and ducked behind it, knees grinding into gravel. But I didn't care. I had to hide. I turned off my flashlight so they couldn't spot me. Moonlight helped my eyes adjust. Then I saw them. 2 silhouettes sprinting across the desert. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were close. Talking, searching. I literally typed out a goodbye message to my family. I love you. I'm sorry. Knowing it wouldn't send without service. Just needed to cope, somehow. I'm not a small guy, 5'10", 230 pounds, but I was outnumbered, unarmed, in the middle of nowhere. And I forgot to mention, after those 2 ran past, I heard another set of footsteps. There were 3 of them. They wouldn't leave the area. They scurried like insects, zigzagging, searching. I had one idea. I picked up 2 rocks and threw them far away, in the opposite direction. I prayed to a god I don't even believe in. The plan worked. They chased the sound, yelling as they went. I crouch-walked back toward the truck. Slow, silent. Each step stabbed my legs with sticks and thorns. My boots were full of sand. Then I saw it. The truck. It looked like heaven, but the driver door, it was open. I'd left it shut. I crept up, checked the back seat, and leapt into the cab. Slammed the door. Did the dumbest, but only thing I could think of, started the engine. It took a few tries, but finally roared to life. I slammed it into drive and peeled out. As I tore down that trail, I saw hooded figures along the road, ducking into the brush as I passed, scattering like roaches. I rolled the window down and hurled my pipe wrench at one, full force, just screamed into the darkness and kept driving. The trail lit up with dust. I couldn't hear anything but my own panicked breathing. Finally, town lights. I floored it, white-knuckling the wheel, probably going 75. Pulled into a 7-Eleven around midnight. The cashier looked at me like I was insane. I just asked them to call the sheriff. Sheriff rolls in, big, burly old guy. I'm tatted head to toe, so he looked at me like I was the criminal. Lol. Turns out a hose had blown. Can't remember which one exactly. My boss was pissed I called so late, but shocked when I told him. Said to call the sheriff and a mechanic. Mechanic was cool, didn't even charge me. Cops didn't do much. Treated me like I was hallucinating. Asked if I was on drugs. Wrote barely anything down. The mechanic said he'd never heard of anything like that in the area. I crashed at a motel, maybe a Motel 6. I honestly didn't sleep. Took a shower, stared at the ceiling all night, heart still racing. I quit that job later for other reasons. I live in Florida now. A photo I took on that service call popped up recently, and I just had to tell the story. Still don't know who those people were. Were they trying to rob me? Kill me? Just saw a work truck and thought, ooh, copper and power tools? No clue. But I'll say this. We humans aren't afraid of being alone in the dark. We're afraid of someone else being out there with us.
We'll be right back.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Listeners, our next story comes from Reddit user 4th Degree Night and is narrated by Adam C. Alderson. For you, it's just another day at the office. But for her neighbor, a decade-old murder scene isn't something he'd like you to see.
I've posted a few stories before from my time working in trauma scene cleanup. But someone recently asked me to share another. This one's not your standard ghost story, not exactly, but it's definitely one of the strangest jobs I've ever been on. It still sits with me. Back then, I managed a crew that specialized in cleaning buildings after people had died. Homicides, suicides, and other incidents that left behind a serious mess. Our job wasn't just to remove biohazards. We had to make the place look like nothing had ever happened there. If someone walked into one of our completed sites, we wanted it to seem like it was just a remodeling project. No traces, nothing visible. This particular call came on a stormy day, one of those gloomy, gray afternoons with cold rain and a low rumble of thunder off in the distance. The kind of weather that already makes your skin crawl, like the opening shot of a horror movie. Dispatch sent us to a house up in the hills of a well-to-do neighborhood on the outskirts of a larger city. I won't say which city, out of respect for privacy, but it was the kind of neighborhood you associate with serious money. Big homes, winding roads, the kind of quiet that feels intentional. I hadn't spent much time in that area before. We were told someone would meet us at the site to hand over the keys and sign off on access. A man showed up, maybe an attorney, maybe a real estate agent, didn't really say. He was all business. Signed the paperwork, told us we could dispose of whatever we needed as long as we kept a record, handed me a fax number for invoices, and said his office would take care of everything. He gave us the keys and said to just lock up when we were done and mail them back. So we started setting up. The crew suited up in the protective gear, and I went out to the truck to gather our documentation tools. Back then, we'd recently switched from Polaroids to 35mm cameras, better quality, more reliable for documentation. It wasn't about gore or morbid fascination, it was just about covering our bases. We'd had a past situation where a family accused us of theft. Turns out it was a misunderstanding. A relative had taken something before we even arrived. But ever since, we documented everything. Now, the house itself was huge, 3 stories built into the hillside. From the outside, it looked pristine, with a long, curved driveway that looped around like a U and came back down to the street. You entered on the middle level, with 1 floor above and 1 below. Everything outside seemed well maintained. Once we stepped inside, things got weird. We were used to fresh scenes. Spattered blood, bullet holes, broken furniture, chaos. But this house was Still. Silent. Old. There were no fresh signs of violence, but you could tell something terrible had happened. We eventually found our way to the master bedroom, and that's when it clicked. This was the scene of a murder. What stood out wasn't the scene itself, it was the age of it. This didn't happen last week, or last month. We were looking at a crime scene that had sat undisturbed for a decade, maybe longer. The dried blood had darkened almost to black. The room was half empty, and the furniture that was there looked like it hadn't been touched since the late 70s or early 80s. Dust coated everything, and spider webs stretched across corners. It felt like stepping into a sealed tomb. My crew that day included 3 others, 2 of whom were newer hires, and I could tell right away they were on edge. It's normal for new guys to get spooked, especially on a scene like this, but they kept finding reasons to head outside, even with the rain pouring. They'd rather haul trash through a storm than be inside that house. We noticed the blood had pooled heavily in the master bedroom, and it looked like it had seeped through to the floor below. When we inspected the den underneath, a lounge or bar space, we found a dark stain on the ceiling. I told the team we'd have to pull up the carpet, possibly the subfloor, and then go downstairs and remove drywall, insulation, and part of the wood flooring where the blood had come through. That's when something unexpected happened. A car pulled up. It was a Mercedes, nice, newer model. I assumed maybe the rep had come back, so I stepped outside to meet him. Instead, it was a man in his 70s, clearly upset. Before I could say anything, he started yelling, demanding to know what we were doing there. I let him vent, then calmly told him I had the dispatch paperwork and I could show him everything. I even offered to wait for the police if he wanted to call them. That seemed to calm him a little. He glanced at the paperwork, still confused. Then he asked me something that threw me. Why today? Why now? So I told him vaguely that we were there to clean up after an accident. He looked at me hard and said, "No one's been in that house for years." I tried to explain that maybe the incident happened years ago and the family was just now dealing with it, settling affairs or prepping to sell. He got quiet. Then he said something that stuck with me. He said something terrible had happened there a long time ago. He didn't go into detail, just said that it was tragic and that the house had sat empty ever since. Then he apologized for yelling. Said he lived next door and had to keep an eye out sometimes, chase away teenagers. He just wanted to make sure we weren't there to cause trouble. I asked if he knew the family who had lived there. All he said again was, "No one's been in that house in years." After that, we wrapped up quickly. The job itself wasn't all that complex. Rip out the carpet, pull up the flooring, clean the area, document everything, and go. While the crew packed up their gear and peeled off their protective suits back in the trucks, I took one final walk through the house. I snapped some extra photos, more for my own curiosity than anything else. The whole place felt wrong. Rooms were dim or completely dark where lights didn't work. The furniture that was left behind wasn't worn, it was just old, outdated, like someone had simply walked away and never come back. And then I saw it. In one of the rooms, maybe a kid's room, I noticed a stuffed animal. A little pink dog lying on its side near a dusty lamp. I don't know why, but that toy chilled me more than anything else in the house. It was the kind of detail that shouldn't have meant anything, but did. We left. Back at the office, I finished the paperwork, passed everything off to our billing person, including the film roll from the camera. We had a service that came by every couple of days to process the film, but when we got the prints back, none of the photos came out. It wasn't just empty negatives either, it was blotchy, smeared, almost like something had tried to develop but failed. The prints were brown, discolored, and distorted. It looked exactly like what happens when film gets exposed to airport scanners back when that was a thing. Completely ruined. We didn't need the photos for billing, thankfully, but it bothered us. The storm had been miles away. We heard thunder, but we're never close enough for lightning to strike the house or our equipment. There was no clear reason for the film to be damaged like that. To this day, I don't know what happened in that house or why it sat empty so long. All I know is something awful happened there. And for whatever reason, it stayed locked up for years until someone finally decided to deal with it. And when they did, it was us who got the call. All I know is that house had waited a long time for someone to come and clean it up. And when we finally did, it felt like something didn't want to be remembered.
You're listening to Disturbed. We'll be right back.
Learning through play starts with Lego Duplo. With Lego Duplo, toddlers can develop real-life skills while having fun with colorful bricks made just for them. Large, easy to grip, and safe to explore. When children express themselves with Lego Duplo, they build patience, problem-solving, and empathy. See your child learn perseverance and self-expression with everything they imagine and create. Visit lego.com/preschool to learn more.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Welcome back to the podcast. Our next story is narrated by Catherine Restivo. He pointed a gun at me and then just walked away. From Reddit user Dependent Weird 48598.
About a year ago, I got high and wanted to get out of the city for a while. Just some solo nature time to clear my head. I took the subway heading toward this forest spot I like. Everything felt normal. Until I noticed him. Everyone else on the train was half asleep, staring at their phones. But this one guy stood out immediately. Jittery, twitching, looking all over the place. When our eyes met for a second, it was like my brain lit up with alarms. He felt wrong. I looked away and tried to shake it off. Thought maybe I was just being paranoid because of the weed. I got off at my stop. He got off too. Took the escalator up. He was one step behind me, way too close, no personal space. Had this gym bag he set right down next to my foot. He kept shifting around in my peripheral vision. It made my skin crawl. I told myself to chill. You're high. You're just overthinking. At the next tram station, I tried to hang back and fake text. He walked past me. I felt relieved. I even laughed at myself a little. Just some random dude, right? Then I got on the tram, heading toward the forest trail. And there he was again. Same seat, like he'd been waiting. My chest tightened. I kept telling myself it was nothing. Coincidence. Just paranoia. But I couldn't ignore that gut feeling screaming that something was off. I got off at my stop. So did he. I didn't go into the forest. I just stood near the tram station, trying to calm myself down. Lit a cigarette. Tried to breathe. That's when he came up to me with this fake-looking smile and asked, "Hey, do I know you? You looked familiar on the subway." I told him no. Then he said, "You smiled at me so nicely. I thought maybe we knew each other. I know I didn't smile at anyone. I was barely keeping myself together. He turned around and walked a few steps away. I thought that was the end of it. Then, he bent down to his bag. And somehow I knew. Even before I saw anything, my body went cold. My brain was screaming, "He's going to shoot you." I saw it in my head before it happened. Him pulling the trigger, me bleeding out. He pulled out a handgun, pointed it right at me. Just stood there. No words. Then made a fake shooting motion like he pulled the trigger and let out this weird, broken laugh. Put the gun back in the bag, walked off, never looked back. And I just stood there, frozen. For at least 20 minutes, I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I didn't call the cops, I couldn't even think. I was too high, too panicked, and too shocked to do anything. It felt like time just stopped. I still don't fully understand what happened. I just can't simply process it. Whether it was some twisted joke or something worse that he decided not to do last minute. The weirdest part is, my gut knew way before I did. How did that happen?
Our final story is narrated by Brian Jeffords from r/Let's Not Meet. To the guy in the blue hoodie, let's not meet.
So just yesterday, I went to a friend's house for a small get-together at another buddy's place. It went great. We laughed a lot, had fun, and I left around 9 p.m. I'd ridden my bike there from home, but when it was time to leave, I realized my phone was dead. So no GPS, no flashlight, just me and my bike in the dark. Well, I started zigzagging through unfamiliar streets, trying to find my way home. At one point, I stopped at a crosswalk to catch my breath. That's when I noticed someone behind a tree wearing a blue hoodie. He raised his arm and waved at me. It was weird. I didn't wave back. I just got on my bike and kept moving. A few streets down, I suddenly heard heavy breathing and fast footsteps behind me. Well, I turned around, and it was the guy in the blue hoodie, a white male, running straight at me. I pedaled like hell. As I was speeding away, I heard him yell, "Fuck you!" I made it to a barbecue restaurant, hoping to duck inside, but it was already closed. I looked back. He was still following me. I kept pedaling, heart pounding, until I reached the AutoZone near my house. When I finally glanced behind me again, he was gone. For a second, I thought it was over, until I heard a voice near the front of AutoZone. A male voice, laughing maniacally. The laugh faded into the distance like he was walking away. Well, I booked it home, locked everything, and tried to sleep, but paranoia kept me awake. I wonder if he was just a random lunatic or if he followed me from the party. Well, either way, I'm not taking the quiet of my street for granted anymore. Tonight before bed, I'm checking the locks twice and praying that footsteps and maniacal laughter aren't waiting for me outside.
Want more Disturbed? Check out our Patreon for member-exclusive content, early merch access, and other cool perks. I'm your host, Doug Bailey, and this has been Disturbed, a production of Killer Podcasts and part of the Evergreen Network. For more paranormal and true crime shows, visit killerpodcasts.com. Follow our social channels at Disturbed Podcast on Instagram or Disturbed_pod on Twitter. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing and reviewing on your favorite listening platform. Share your own true horror story at disturbedpodcast.com. Music by Epidemic Sound and by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Our producer is Noah Fouts. Our audio engineers are Nathan Corson and Will Pritz. Executive producer Bridget Coyne. Until next time, stay safe out there. Hello, listeners. We're committed to making scary good podcasts for you to enjoy. With the lineup expanding to twice a week and new shows and formats coming your way, we want to make sure we're giving you exactly the horror you're listening for. We created a survey to gather feedback about the show and to learn more about you as a listener, to make the best Disturbed that we can. Interested? Go to theshowsurvey.com/disturbed to take the quick anonymous survey and be entered into a drawing for a $100 Amazon gift card. Again, that's theshowsurvey.com/disturbed. Every week, we'll select a different winner for participating. And hey, thanks.